Okay, let's talk about masks, shapes. I'm going to create a new composition. So Command N for new composition, and I'm going to do a HDTV 1080-24 as my preset. 30 seconds is fine. If yours isn't 30-second duration, highlight that. 3000, that's 30 seconds.
HD what?
HDTV 1080-24 is your preset.
1080.
Right there. Alright. And then click OK. There. Whoops. Alright, mine's really big, so I'm going to hit Command minus, and that'll make it a better size. Alright, there's nothing in this composition right now. We either need to make a shape layer or we need to make a solid layer that we put a mask on. Alright, so let's talk about shape layers versus masks. Both of them are created either using the pen tool or the shape tools. The key command for your shape tool is Q. And as you hit Q, watch what happens. If I hit Q, it'll activate the tool. If the tool is already activated and I hit Q, that's my rounded rectangle tool. There's my ellipses tool. There's my polygon tool. There's my star tool. And there's my square tool again, or my rectangle. With nothing selected, if I draw a rectangle, that is a shape layer. Alright? That shape layers can be duplicated, replicated, they can form patterns, they can change, they do very uniform type changes. And inside the shape layer, the contents of this shape layer are, I have rectangle path, I have a stroke, I have fill, and then I can transform this rectangle by skewing it. This all very uniform changes, okay? And this rotation is different than the layers rotation, because the layers rotation is actually here too. So a shape layer is like its own object within the layer. All right. So I'm just going to delete that for now. I'm going to hit Q a few times till I have a star, or actually a polygon's good. I'm just going to draw a polygon right here. The way I'm drawing this is I'm just dragging from left to right with my mouse, and then with my mouse still pressed, if I hold down spacebar at any time, I can reposition that. And then when I let go of the spacebar, I can change the size of it again.
How do you change the shape again?
If I keep hitting Q, it'll change the tool. The tool is right here, up in the top left in your toolbox. All right, so now with the polystar, here's something really cool. If I twirl down the contents of that polystar, twirl down the polystar, I get all kinds of options underneath the polystar path. I can add points. So I can go down to a triangle, or I can go up, make it bigger and bigger. Okay. I can change the radius, which is the size of it, but I can change how those are built. So I can start making a flower. Okay? And I can go inward with that too. All of this is keyframeable. It's all underneath the polystar path, polystar contents. Okay? And this is a shape layer. All this stuff's keyframeable, by the way.
How did you do that part again?
Just play with it. It's all experimentation right now. So I can also make a star. I can make my inner radius go out, go in. The options for fill and stroke are up at the top. So if I've got my shape layer selected, this fill and this stroke option will automatically become highlighted, so I can assign it different colors. I can make the stroke bigger. And I can change whether the stroke is what type of stroke. You can add more. You can add all sorts of stuff to these. You can Bezier the path. You can, if we add a twist, then it adds that twist down here, and we can make it spiral. Okay, so that's an introduction to shapes.
Where was twist at, Scott?
If you go up to, there's two places where you can do it. In the shape layer, next to contents, you can add these. You can add pucker and bloat, offset paths, Merzer paths, twist, wiggle, zigzag, or you can do it up here at the top of the screen next to your fill and your path options.
Thank you.
All right. There's also repeaters. You can add a repeater. So if I add a repeater, then I can twirl that down. I can make lots of copies. I can offset them. See, as I'm scrubbing this back and forth, think I could add keyframes.
How do you get the repeater on there?
Same way I added the twist. I can go up to this little arrow up here, add a repeater. Oh. No, just kidding. Yeah, repeater right there. All right. Composite below. So we can transform the repeaters. We can make the position go farther out. We can make them go up or down. We can change the rotation of them. We can make them fade away. Yeah, lots of things. And that offset is the reason why stars are flying through now. Okay? You can have the offset go nowhere. So we can do not vertical, just have it be horizontal. Have this start over at this. Then, if we want to, we can add another repeater. And instead of having this one go off to the side, we can have the repeater transform. This gets confusing because if you add something, each thing comes with its own set of properties. Okay, so this one, I'm going to have it go to the side 0, but I'm going to have it go down. So then we've got even more duplicating going on. So, you know, you can get pretty psychedelic. All right. So then what you can do is, now if I change the inner and outer radius of this, it changes all of them. Okay, so rather than creating one object and then like duplicating the layer 100 times to create this effect, I do one shape, do a repeater, repeat it out to the side, and then repeat it vertically, and then I can just do this one change, and they all go crazy. All right. So there's a little something for your imagination to go crazy with. Then let me do a little experiment here. I just need to make sure. Watch what happens if I change the rotation of the layer. It all changes together. Okay. But if I change the rotation of the shape itself, which is inside contents, then that's what happens. All right. Do we want to play around with shapes anymore? That's a nice introduction to shapes. That'll help you with chapter 4 a lot. Not just having been exposed to this. All right. I'm going to just delete all that work I just did.
That's fine.
All right. Now let's talk about masks. Masks are different. That was just an introduction to paths, or to shapes. You can actually change the path of a shape, and you can animate the stroke that goes around a shape also. Okay. But you can do a lot of very similar things with masks. But masks need to go onto a layer. So I'm going to create a solid layer. And the key command for that is Y. Command Y. I don't know why. It just makes a solid. Just don't know why. All right. I'm going to make a colored solid here. By default, your solid is going to be the same size as the composition that you're putting it into. All right, so there it is. Now, with a solid layer, you have to be careful. If you have no layer selected and you grab your rectangle tool or any of these shape tools, with no layer selected, it's going to make a new shape layer.
Let's see, what was the command again? Command Q?
It's just Q. Just Q. That changes that tool out. If you have a layer selected, it's going to draw a mask on that layer. So with that layer selected, my mask is only showing that portion. It's like cutting a stencil out. All right. Let me bring in this background movie so you can see what's going on. So if I get my star tool and with this selected, it's going to draw a star mask, and it's only going to show that portion through the mask. Okay. So in the Steam Cycle video, we did something pretty similar. He was down in the corner, but there was all the junk off to the side of the screen. Well, we just draw a mask, and that isolates that portion of the screen for us to be able to see. Okay, so that's what the mask is doing. You can animate the mask by hitting M, and that'll bring up your mask path. If you activate the keyframes on the mask path, you can then go in and advance your playhead and move 1 point. Okay, so you can go and you can move 1 point at a time. And if you're following stuff very specifically, it's called rotoscoping. Okay, so there's my star, it's morphing out. But let's say I didn't want it to go out, I wanted it to start out as a blob and then coalesce into a star. Right click on those keyframes, time reverse keyframes, and now it's going to go the opposite direction. Okay. Alright, so let's get rid of this mask. Let's draw a new mask. Let's get rid of this video. Let's take a look at the ellipse tool. The ellipse tool, whoops, I'm drawing a shape on accident. I need to select the solid, then I can draw a mask on it. If you hold down Shift, it'll make a perfect circle. If you hold down Shift and Alt, or Shift and Command, it'll draw a circle out from the center of where you started the circle. At any time, you can let go and it'll constrain it or not. At any time, you can hold down spacebar and change the position of it. So let's say I started drawing it up here, but it's going off the screen. Hold spacebar, and I can find the exact place that I want that to be, right there. If I just double click on my ellipse tool up here in the toolbox, double click, it creates an ellipse that's a perfect rounded shape to mask the edges of that layer. Now, what is an ellipse? An ellipse is, I could draw this with the pen tool. See those handles coming out? Those are what creates this curve going from this point to that point. So this handle is pulling the line up this way. This point is pulling the line over this direction, while simultaneously this point is pulling it out this way. So I can extend those corners out, change the shape of this if I want to. Now let's talk about transforming. If I select the mask in the timeline or double click on the mask up here in the composition, if I double click on any point on that mask, I add a transform box, which can be a uniform transform or free transform around that box. If I select outside that mask, it'll select the layer, and then I can select one point using my selection tool and change the shape of the mask even again. Okay? Boomerang. Yay. Now, if I select my pen tool and then hold down Alt, I can turn it into this vertex tool, which will allow me to just change one side of that. Now we're going for Star Trek or something. Yeah. Now I've just created a logo. It's Mountain Media Group or High Peak Studios because it's my little mountain. Anyway. All of that movement, again, can be keyframed. So if I want to, at any point, M, mask path, I can then grab any point on that and animate it. So watch what happens. It's not real pretty, but yeah. All right. So masks are more of a free transform, whereas paths or shapes are, I think they're more for uniform movement and uniform transformations, whereas masks can be a lot more organic feeling. It's just a lot easier to edit these kind of paths.
Let's see, so let's see. I can't get those twists.
All right, and then easing is always your best friend, but
What?
yeah, that's a brief introduction to masks and shapes and what they do.
Let's see. I don't get why is it white going?